Welcome, Cody and Sylvia.
Is Brandon on?
Yes, I'm here.
Eric, is that you in?
Brandon's the one.
I get this, Chair.
Okay.
Right here.
Okay.
Looks like
Okay.
we have everyone.
Okay. I see we also have Councilman Grader on as well.
Yep.
Right.
Grider, sorry.
It's fine. Happy birthday. Thank you.
Councilman Grider.
Okay, it is 4:01. This is the May 5th regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Go ahead and call it to order. I am Virginia Wilbur. It should be noted that due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we are also meeting by Zoom, as well as we do have some folks in the council chambers as well. So I am going to start off the meeting by also delegating authority to Eric to be able to call on either applicants or members of the public who are in attendance. Do we have anyone there, Eric?
Yes, the representatives for the one applicant are here and one other person in attendance currently.
Okay. All right. Okay, first item on the agenda, do we have approval of this afternoon's agenda?
Do not so moved. Alderman second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Next, do we have is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting from April 7th?
So moved. Second, Trost.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Trost.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Okay, next we will have the financial report.
This is Schrader with the financial report. We turn to it here. We are currently at 75% of the fiscal year. So looking down through there, we should be around 75%. Looking on the revenue side first, there are quite a few of them that are under 75%. So we're a little behind on revenue. Although switching over to the expense side, which in theory at this point in the year should also be at about 75%, you can see that quite a few of those are under 75% as well. So we're a little under on revenue, but it kind of washes out with being a little under on expenses as well. So all in all, it looks pretty decent.
This is Flynn, and I just wondered, Eric, as far as the revenue from sale of property, that is really down. And do we anticipate, obviously, with the COVID-19 continuing and the fiscal year only having a couple months left, will that pick up, or what will we do to offset the lack of revenue for sale of property?
This is Schrader. That's a really good question. We are well behind on the sale of property. There is one transaction in particular, the sale of the former central garage building, that if we can get that completed within this timeline, will help out significantly with the budget on there. There could be a few other ones, but without that one, we'll probably end under budget. But with expenses being under budget, that kind of helps wash it out. We would end up having to do a budget amendment at the end of the year, but is when your projected revenue is a little less, it certainly helps when your projected expenses are also less.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but I'm hearing an awful lot of background conversation or something coming through. It's like there's another conversation going on in the background behind somebody's
Can't tell who it is,
microphone.
if they're not talking.
Somebody might have a hanging microphone that is hitting against their shirt or something. They have the microphone on the earphones or something.
Yeah, we're not too sure which one it would be, but it would be something that if you're not speaking, you certainly could mute yourself and then unmute yourself when needed, but we'll just have to monitor it.
Does it seem better now, Craig? Okay. All right. Any other questions for staff on the financials? Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. Commissioner Silver.
Schoberg, second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
motion carried. Or any opposed? All right, next is on the item on the agenda is time for oral presentations. This would be anyone, Eric, who is there, who is not here to speak on an agenda item. Is everyone there here to speak on the hearing?
So anyone in the audience, if you're here on a non-agenda item, this is an opportunity. If you're here for the agenda item, that'll be coming up next.
Are they the agenda?
Yeah.
item? Okay, then
Yep. Nope. So no one in the audience for public comment.
Okay, then we'll move to new business. Okay, the time is 4:07 p.m. and a hearing is scheduled at this time for a request by Assad Osmic to rezone 0.945 acres from C2 Commercial District to CP Planned Commercial District to allow for a truck repair and truck terminal facilities located at 122 Black Hawk Road. At this time, we should receive and place on file a statement of verification signed by Patty McGee stating, I, Patty McGee, do hereby certify that a copy of the attached letter, overview, aerial, and notice maps were mailed to each individual on the attached list by regular mail on April 22nd, 2020. Do we have a motion to receive and place this notice on file?
So moved.
Second, Flynn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. So first we will have the staff report, and then after that we will have a time for the applicant to come forward.
Okay, this is Heiberger with the staff report. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property in question to allow for truck repair and truck terminal. The request should not have a major impact on the neighborhood with the recommended conditions. Staff is requesting that fencing and a tree buffer be installed along Paul and Janney Avenues, and there is commercial properties along the northern property line. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area. University Avenue Trail is currently under construction along the south side of University Avenue, just one block to the south of the site. There'll be a sidewalk installed on the north side of University Avenue from Black Hawk Road to the west. There's also sidewalks on the northwest side of Black Hawk Road and the northwest side of Janney Avenue and along the south side of Falls Avenue. The area of the proposed rezone site is currently zoned C2 Commercial District and has been zoned as such since 1969. Surrounding uses to the north, vacant land, Cozy Van Hones Auto Body and residential zone C2 Commercial District. Residential Black Creek zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residence district and A1 agricultural district. To the east is Black Hawk Creek zoned A1 agricultural district. And to the west is residential zone R2, 1 and 2 family district and C2 commercial district. Residential in the area was built between 1925 and 1962 and commercial built between 1952 and 1979. The applicant will be constructing a tree and fence buffer along Paul Avenue and Janney Avenue. Rezoning of the land would not appear to have a negative impact upon drainage in the area. The property is Zone X, protected by levee as indicated by FEMA. Fred Becker Elementary School is located 1.21 miles to the west. Central Middle School is 1.77 miles to the west, and West and East High Schools are both located 1.87 miles to the south, east, and east, respectively. There is a 21-inch sanitary sewer line that travels from the northeast along Blackhawk Creek to the intersection of Blackhawk Road and Paul Avenue before continuing along Blackhawk Road. There's also an 8-inch sanitary sewer line at the intersection of Paul Avenue and Janney Avenue to the intersection of Blackhawk Road and Paul Avenue, where it connects to a 21-inch line along Blackhawk Road. There's also a 12-inch storm sewer along Janney Avenue as well. The future land use map designates this property as industrial. Proposed land use of the neighborhood commercial is in conformance with the future land use map in this area. The applicant is requesting to rezone 0.0945 acres from C2 Commercial District to CP Plant Commercial District. The site sits at the corner of Javin Avenue, Paul Avenue, and Blackhawk Road. Blackhawk Creek sits to the east of the property with commercial to the north along Falls Avenue and residences along the south side of Paul Avenue and on the west side of Janney Avenue. It should also be noted that the residences along the west side of Janney and zoned C2 Commercial District and have been zoned as such since the adoption of the zoning ordinance in 1969. The building on the site was built in 1954 and has been used as commercial since that time as an automotive services fuel station and related services. The applicant and current owner of the property owns a trucking company, White Wing Trunking, and is looking to use the property to do limited maintenance and repair on their trucks and as truckers' office truck terminal. Before purchasing the site, the property had not been maintained for some time, and the applicant has invested money into fixing up the property. The applicant also agreed to put up fencing and trees along Paul Avenue and Janney Avenue to buffer the property from neighboring residences. The applicants have also agreed to put hard surfacing on a portion of the lot for parking and to close the northern entrance along Janney Avenue. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Isad Osmik to rezone 0.945 acres from C2 Commercial District to CP Plant Commercial District for a truck repair and truck terminal facility located at 122 Blackhawk Road be approved for the following reasons. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding area with the conditions that have been agreed upon by the applicant. The request would not appear to have a negative impact upon pedestrian and traffic conditions within the surrounding area. The site has been used for commercial purposes since at least 1954 with the following conditions. No outside storage other than licensed and operable vehicles and trailers. The property be fenced with a vinyl type fence and tree along Paul Avenue and Janney Avenue, except for opening maximum of 40 feet at the two existing driveways. All maintenance and repair vehicles is to be done inside the building. That hard surfacing be installed on a portion of the property as shown on the approved site plan, and that the northern entrance along Janney Avenue be closed and the fencing and tree plantings would be placed across the existing opening. And that is Heiberger with the staff report.
Other questions for staff?
Yes, do not. So my question is, this is do not. So my question is, are there any health concerns or health mandates brought by the local health department that the development would have to do due to COVID-19?
This is Schrader with staff. I'm not aware of any.
Okay.
Commissioner Surfling, I have a question. Is there any kind of timeline of when that driveway would be closed and the buffers put in?
I guess we let's see, was there an established timeline to?
Didn't see it in the report.
Yeah.
No, we could work with the applicant on that.
This is Holdeman. Exactly where is the hard surfacing supposed to be?
The hard surfacing's supposed to be to the south of the existing parking lot. We also kind of have a site plan that kind of shows where the parking area will be extended, and then the trucks would be placed there.
Okay, so that's the thing you sent out to us this afternoon?
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay,
Oh,
other additional
sure.
questions for staff? All right. Eric, you said that the applicant, Mr. Osmick, is there.
Yes.
Would he like to address the commission?
Up to the micro.
Right here.
I'll do it for him.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Matea, and I'm his Esad's fiance. We bought this building about a year and a half ago, and I would like to keep it. We're trying to build a business for our children. We have two. One is almost 24, one is 23, 22, and they're our dispatchers. So they have their office there. They dispatch the trucks. The trucks are not there 24/7. The trucks come and go. So there's going to be a week or 2 weeks, no trucks come through. And then there might be a weekend or a day that 2 trucks come in. Esad looks at them and they go on and they do their own thing. So they're not there stored or they're not worked on. Nothing else is worked on that it's not ours. So we don't pull other people there. It's strictly a family-owned business, and we're just trying to build something for our children for later on. And when we purchased the building, we did not know that all of this needed to be done, so I would like to ask if that could be approved to change it to CP. And then whatever you guys think needs to be done to it, we'll work with everything and make it right for everybody. That would be it.
Do commissioners have questions?
This is Trost. What driveway approaches are you looking to maintain all of them on both roads or just one of them? Yeah.
This is Schrader with staff. So the site currently has 3 street frontages, street frontage along Blackhawk Road, street frontage along Paul Avenue, and street frontage along Janey Avenue. And there's a driveway to each of those 3 street frontages. Paul Avenue and Janey Avenue kind of come together at a curvature, so it's not quite a real typical intersection. It's kind of along a curve, and there's driveways to both Paul and Janey that are fairly close to the curve. Staff is requesting as a condition of the approval that the northern or northwesterly most driveway from Janey be closed, and then the other 2 existing driveways, one from Paul and one from Blackhawk, would then be allowed to be maintained. And the applicants had indicated that they were okay with that.
Thank you. That helps. Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? Thank you. That we also received your letter with our materials, so I appreciate that additional information as well.
Thank you.
Eric, is there anyone else in the chambers that wants to address this agenda item?
Yep, she's approaching now.
Okay.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Diane Hume, and I live at 120 Paul Avenue, directly across from the business. I would just like to say I'm in favor of the CP rezoning request. Prior to the Osmics taking over the business, there was a firm called A1 Landscaping. That place, before they took it over, was an unmitigated mess. When they finally moved out, it took the owner of the property, Al Bailey, a month and a half to get it to even sellable condition. I had spoken with the code enforcement office numerous times. The officer at that time, her name was Sue, and she said that she had tried to get a fencing condition for when it was A1 landscaping, but something about that property had been grandfathered in. So I'm a little confused why fencing wasn't allowed for A1 landscaping, but now it's being requested for the Osmix business. Fencing along Paul Avenue would do no good whatsoever. The properties on Paul are approximately 6 to 8 feet above street level. So even if they put up a fence, we could still look over and see the business. But at this point, I think it's an unnecessary expense for the Osmics to have to put up a fence. I don't care if it's along Janney, Paul, Blackhawk. They've done a wonderful job of bringing that business so that it's at least presentable and not the eyesore that it used to be. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else either on Zoom or in the chambers that wants to speak on this agenda item?
This is Dornoff with staff. I just want to note that we also received 2 phone calls on this agenda item, and both of the callers were supportive of the applicants, saying they have really taken care of the property and improved it. So they were in support.
This is Flynn. I just wondered, so there was no negativity from any surrounding area neighbors on this project?
No.
This is Schrader with staff, none that we are aware of.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to close the hearing then?
So moved.
Lester Cole, second.
I'm sorry, who was that one? Who is?
Cody.
Oh, thank you, Cody. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Then, all right. Any additional questions for staff, or is there a motion?
This is Schrader with
Someone wants?
This is Schrader with staff. I would just say maybe we should have a little discussion on the conditions, since one of the neighbors on Paul suggested that the fencing might not be necessary. I mean, that was a recommendation as a condition by staff just to help screen from the neighbors. So I guess that puts a little new light to it under the one of the neighbors that would be affected by that, suggesting that the fence wouldn't really do anything. So
This is Holdeman. I was out by there today, and she's right. Those homes along Paul Avenue are several feet above the street grade. So yeah, you probably look right over the top of a 6-foot fence or even an 8-foot fence. I wouldn't be upset if they just planted some trees along there to kind of screen it.
any other commissioner thoughts on that?
I was gonna ask about, this is Cody here, I was gonna ask about the height of the fence, and you kind of addressed that there. Was there an agreed upon height of the fence?
This is Schrader with staff. The zoning ordinance, when it requires a screen, requires a minimum of a 6-foot fence. So typically, if we, as a condition to approval, are requesting a screen, we would typically require a 6 as well. The ordinance allows for up to an 8-foot solid fence, but we would typically, if we're requiring a solid fence, typically only require 6.
Thank you.
Eric, this is Trost. If it changes possession or changes ownership for a new business, does that, under CP, does that require any kind of review by the city?
This is Schrader with staff. Change of ownership would not, change of use or any sort of addition that beyond what would be classified as a minor addition would have to come back through the approval process.
Okay. This is Trost again. I guess, knowing that some other businesses in the neighborhood have some storage and service areas that they're not screened off from view necessarily, and the neighbors are in support of not having a fence. If that wants to be accepted from the recommendations, I'd be fine with that.
I would actually support, this is do not. I would actually support the tree planting as the screen if the fence doesn't work.
One quick question. This is Holdeman. Would we be setting some kind of a precedent if we didn't have them put up a fence?
This is Schrader with staff. No. When a rezone of this nature to a planned district is done, that is normally looked at on a case-by-case basis. The ordinance would not outright require a fence screening unless it was directly an abutting property line with residential. Because it's across the street, the ordinance doesn't require it. But as part of a rezone, it can be a condition of the approval. So no, I would say these are kind of handled on a case-by-case basis and based on the neighborhood input of a fence not really being very effective and some of the commissioners' comments, agreeing that requiring the fence might not be necessary, but liking the idea of trees, I would suggest maybe we strike condition number 2, but replace it with some requirement for tree plantings along the right of way. I don't know what like an appropriate spacing might be, maybe every 60 feet, just kind of help break up the view.
This is Wilbur.
Can you-
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wondered if we could do a recommendation based on, I don't know if it would be engineering or you guys or whoever, forestry would go out there and make a recommendation of the amount and placement of trees or shrubs or bushes, whatever they so determine. That would be up to their expertise as far as the placement and how far apart.
I agree with that, Sue.
So you could have the number 2 condition be a tree planting plan to be approved by the city, and we could have the applicants prepare a plan, and as long as it appears to be, reasonable, I think we could then approve that.
This is Wilbur. Does the applicant have a preference?
Right. Yep, they indicated they don't have a preference, whatever the city thinks necessary to require. They had previously indicated an acceptance of doing some tree plantings and a fence. So removal of the fence requirement obviously is a significant plus for them.
Okay. This is Wilbur. One more question. John, when you said that several of the neighbors called in as well, were they also indicating that they didn't think a fence would be required?
None of them mentioned a fence at all, so.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion?
This is do not. I'll make a motion that the item be approved with the amendments to the second condition as described, that a tree planting plan be put in place by the applicant to be approved by the appropriate authorities to consider that tree planting plan. Otherwise, I would put my motion that the item be approved as outlined in the packet according to the recommendations that are outlined in the packet.
I'll second that.
Just to clarify, Eric, you mean the conditions that are also outlined?
Yes, I would make that motion to approve with the conditions that are outlined within the packet, but with the amendments that we discussed to condition number 2.
Okay. Thank you.
That works.
Okay. And we have a second. Any further discussion?
Just one quick clarification here now. We're just talking about Paul Avenue that they don't have to have a fence on, or are we talking about Paul and Janney?
This is Schrader with staff. I was interpreting that as Paul and Janie. There would not have been a huge amount of fencing along Janie anyway, because of that. Well, there's not a ton of right of way along Janie, and then you get to the street opening where there wouldn't have been fencing anyway. So
Yeah.
This is
How do I need? I'm sorry. This is do not. How do I need to amend my motion to reflect what Eric Schroeder just said?
I don't think you need to.
don't need
I think
to.
it's covered as long as everyone else is clear. The applicant would like to comment again, though.
When I went around and I spoke to all of the neighbors around us, especially the guys on Paul Avenue, the two ladies I spoke to, they were both against the fence because they can see over it, of course. And the guy on Janney Avenue that's directly across, he said he would rather look at us work out there than look at a fence. So that's what I just wanted to say that.
Sounds good.
All right,
Everyone hear that?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Wilbur. Is there anyone who needs the motion restated, or are we all pretty clear?
Nope.
Good deal.
This is Trost. I guess my only question is if neighbors don't have a need for a fence and there's nothing in our ordinance that requires a fence, do we even need to offer up to make the selection between a fence and a tree or landscaping?
I'll answer that for a second. I think because the fence was in the motion, the fence was in the condition of the second condition, I think we need to make a differentiation between whether we want trees or a fence because it was in that second condition. That would be my answer.
And this is Schrader with staff. And in our staff report, we did talk about trees, but that wasn't actually listed as one of the conditions. So I think it would be good to address that with removal of the fence, just having a few trees along the right of way there, I think will help break up the view. It won't create a screen, but it'll just kind of help beautify the area, I think.
This is Wilbur. That's the motion we have if we want to vote, but if somebody wants to totally remove that condition at all, we can deny the motion and then make a new motion. So we have who made the motion and Cody
Surfway.
seconded.
Surfway.
Yep. Commissioner Surfling
Yep.
seconded it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Did everyone, why don't we go go through roll call because I don't know who, did everyone vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion passed. I'm sorry, when I can see all your faces in the same room, it's a lot easier to tell. All right, that motion passed then. Eric, please thank the applicant.
Mrs. Schrader with staff. Okay, your item has passed. This is just a recommendation. It will go on to the city council. We'll have to usually 3 or 4 weeks because we'll have to transmit it to set a date of hearing and publish notice in the paper and all of that good stuff. But yep, we'll let you know. Yep. All right. Thanks. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Wilbur. Are there any other discussion items?
Yes, this is do not. Did we consider the minutes?
The what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Last meeting?
We considered the minutes from the previous meeting, correct?
Yes.
Yep. They were
Yes.
approved. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion items? Okay, our next meeting is set for June 2nd. Since everything seems to be kind of day by day at this point, when we get closer to that date, we'll rely on the staff and the recommendations from the mayor in terms of if we're meeting in the chambers or meeting by Zoom again. So just hang tight with us and we will keep you updated. I appreciate all the staff time and energy to get the Zoom set up for us as well. Any other items before we adjourn?
No.
Okay, welcome again to our new commissioners. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. And we hope to see you.
I got a question. I was on the phone earlier with Eric, and I was wondering if there was a possibility of figuring out a way to pick up the physical copies of ordinance.
This is Schrader with staff. Absolutely. You could probably stop by any time tomorrow, and we'll be able to have those ready to go.
Okay, I'll come by after work. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Would you please introduce the new members?
And that would be the same. Yes. So we have, well, Brandon was with us last meeting, but we still haven't met him in person. And then we have Sylvia. I don't have last names right in front of me, but if you want to introduce yourself, go ahead.
Sylvia Jackson.
Jackson.
And then we have Cody Listicow. Is that correct?
Pretty close. Leipzig.
Leipzig.
Yep, I come from the community development board, so yep, glad to be around.
And Brandon Schoberg.
Where is he?
Hey.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yep. Welcome aboard.
You need a motion to do.
Look forward
right.
to meeting everyone one day.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Cody will second that.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Stay safe.